The Rockets, Dorian Finney-Smith here on a 4-year deal, and Clint Capela here on a 3-year deal. And to help us talk more about it, you hear him here as part of our platform on the iHeartRadio app with the Logger Line podcast. He's been covering the Rockets for quite some time. Rockets Wire, another place that you can find his work, part of USA Today. He is Ben DuBose. Ben, appreciate the time this morning. Let's just start. I mean, we heard the rumors yesterday that Dorian Finney-Smith was a possibility, but when you heard the news about Clint Capela, what immediately came to mind for you?
It was definitely shocking. The first thing I wondered about was, is there something big cooking? Like everybody, I sort of wondered, hey, are they about to flip Alperen Sengun and some guys for Giannis? Because now you have two veteran centers in Steven Adams and Clint Capela that could conceivably fill those minutes. But the more I thought about it, the more I did some digging, it dawned on me that, hey, this is such a friendly contract. Clint Capela is getting paid less than Jock Landale was last year, and he's a far better player. So there is a role there. We saw Landale play a decent bit last year because, Steven Adams is now in his 30s. He needs to be load managed. And unlike Jock Landale, Clint Capela is a lob threat. He's an above-the-rim guy, so he provides a different type of player. Now, down the road, he could be tradable salary, or perhaps having Clint makes it to where if Giannis comes available later and you think you need to do something like that, then I guess the optionality that you can backfill the center minutes, I'm sure that's part of it. But the more I think about it and the more I did some digging, I think, honestly, it just comes down to the fact that, look, Jock Landale had a role last season, but Clint Capela's an upgrade, and he's going to get paid less money. So why wouldn't you do it? It's an awkward fit because he's definitely overqualified to be a third-string center. But if you can get a better player making less money, why wouldn't you do it? That's ultimately where I sort of landed on this.
Absolutely. Now, Ben, is there a big deal still ahead? Is there a chance that Giannis is possibly in play, or that Sengun or someone like that gets moved, or are they done?
I think for now they're probably done. I could see – so one thing to keep in mind, as you go into the season, these guys that they've signed in the offseason, most notably Capela and Dorian Finney-Smith, will become tradable. I think December 15th is the date. And so these guys are on friendly contracts or any 1 years that they sign. You can potentially aggregate salaries during the year, and that might be more realistic anyway. Both the Rockets and, a team such as Milwaukee might want to, give it a little bit of a trial run. And then if it's not working out, you can look for a big deal during the season. I think it's difficult to pull off now, both in terms of, do the Rockets have enough salaries? And also just because with bringing in Kevin Durant and the guys that they've signed, even if you could theoretically package like 3 or 4 players for one and bring in a Giannis or a LeBron or someone like that, they're now, we're getting in the weeds here with the salary cap, but they're basically hard capped at the first apron. That's what it's called. And you would then have to fill those roster spots. So even if you do a 4-for-1, you still have to eventually sign players for those roster spots.
Right.
And so it would be very difficult to do that for the full season. You could do it midway through, and you'll have more options then. But for now, I think they're probably done, and this is the team that I think by and large they'll take the training camp.
Hey, Ben, this Vegas loves what they've done, obviously. We've all seen, and there is an excitement, a buzz around it, and you're dialed into this team. Where's the weakness now, at least on paper? Where's the weakness when you look at them heading into this season?
I think it's more – so people will question if they have enough guards because they traded Jalen Green, who was their primary backcourt creator in the Kevin Durant deal, and most people look at KD as a forward. Now, what I'll tell you, Sean, internally inside the building, they view Kevin Durant as a shooting guard. So I don't think
I had him as the 2. I had him playing the 2, right? Is that exactly? That's where I had him.
Exactly. Now, defensively, I think he'll probably guard forwards because he'll be 37, and Amen Thompson is quick enough that even if he's technically a forward, he can guard guards on the other end. But I think people will look at them and say, hey, they don't really have a traditional guard in terms of, a super athletic guy that can pressure the rim. And so how's that going to work against a really good defense like Oklahoma City, who's obviously their primary competition? But I think what they'll tell you, number one, with Kevin Durant, you can shoot your way out of it. And secondly, I think what ties all of these signings together, they want to be a bigger team. That's something I've heard all offseason when I talk to people inside the building there. is that when you look at their data last year, they were at their best when it was just one, let's say, point guard, either Fred VanVleet or Jalen Green, not both, just one of those guys, and then you had three wings and a center. And so the idea, and this plays into Ime Udoka's coaching style as well, with how he wants to be tough, physical. Basically, the more size, the better. And so guys like Dorian Finney-Smith and Clint Capela, they can set screens, they can crash the glass. In Finney-Smith's case, he can shoot and space the floor. They just want more long, rangy bodies that can, defend in space, can jump the passing lanes, can be physical. And I think the way they're looking at this, Sean, is that they don't necessarily need a traditional shooting guard to sort of attack the rim. They want to do it with more size and shooting. And they think if they have enough long, rangy, physical guys that they can generate offense. There was this talk in the playoffs about the double big. And to Alperen Sengun and Steven Adams' credit, it did work well. But it wasn't just the two of them. It was more that they were big in general. They often played Jabari Smith at 6'11" at the three. So I think what they're trying to do, philosophically, I understand the question, but I think the way they look at it is that if you have the shooting of Kevin Durant and you have all these long guys and an athletic freak like Amen Thompson, that even if it doesn't look traditionally like the way a modern NBA offense runs, that they can get the production that they need simply because they're that damn big and they can just crash the glass and do all the little things that we know Ime Udoka wants his team to do.
Again, he's part of Rockets Wire as part of USA Today. Also, too, you can hear him as part of the Logger Line podcast, which is available right here on the iHeartRadio app. He's Ben DuBose. Ben, you mentioned the possibility of the larger move that's out there because, I'm in that camp that wonders if these moves are being made to set up the massive move to go get Giannis Antetokounmpo. But where they sit salary cap-wise, do you see any other small moves maybe that need to be made in order for anything else to be thought about?
I am watching what's going to happen with Cam Whitmore, and it may not be to bring in an immediate upgrade. It could be simply that, hey, Cam's going into year 3, and whether he's here or somewhere else, for his development to maximize his contract, he needs to play. And you've already got a clear top 9 between the starters, and then the 4 top guys off the bench will be Tari Eason, Steven Adams, Dorian Finney-Smith, and Reed Shepherd. So I am watching Cam. Maybe they keep Cam because they think he can sort of fit into that mold I was just describing. He's 6'7", he's a super athlete. We know he's very physical. So maybe they keep him and try to play a 10-man rotation, or maybe they try and find another home for him. I think that's something that they're going to try and resolve in the next few days. I will say that if you keep him, you don't park him at the end of your bench the way they did for a lot of last year. Going into year 3, if you keep him, you need to have a plan to actually play him. And so I think that's a discussion that they're going to have. But I really think the more I look at these contracts, which that's something that under Rafael Stone for years, they have been very disciplined in the contracts that they give out. I really think they're largely going to go to camp as is. Maybe you move Cam Whitmore. Maybe there's a move around the margins to add one more shooter to the backcourt. They are a little bit thin there. But I don't think it's going to be anything drastic. What I think they want is the flexibility, as you said, to make a move later. And at this point, the draft is gone. Free agency, the first wave has come and went. So it's not impossible for another big name to hit the market this offseason. But I think it's a lot less likely than it was, a month or 2 ago. So I think by and large, the plan is get to the season as is, see how it goes. And then if you get to December, you get to January, and things aren't progressing as you would like, then they do have the option to pursue some of those bigger moves later.
All right, Ben, let me get some closure on this Jalen Green thing. Now, I contend, and maybe I'm wrong, that had it been reversed against Golden State, let's say he plays 6 good games and has one, crap out, right, where he urinates down his leg, doesn't play well. Would this move have been made? When did they decide that it was time to move on from Jalen Green?
I don't think it was just because of the playoffs, but it certainly didn't help. The way I looked at this, so if you can get Kevin Durant at a low price point, which they did, really the only young assets they gave up were the number 10 pick in the draft and Jalen Green.
Right.
That's pretty low from an asset standpoint. And he was an all-star last year, and he's still, his game should age well. He should have 2 or 3 great years still left. And so, especially with Jalen now on a more expensive contract, which they signed into prior to last season, The only way that I think in the long run you'd be, regretting trading Jalen Green is if he turned into like a legit All-NBA guy, like top 10, top 15. And I think we've seen enough now after 4 years, and you have got to see what happens in the playoffs. It's fair to say that's unlikely. Like, I don't think you should conclude that Jalen Green is a terrible basketball player or anything like that. No, that's way too reactionary.
Agreed.
But I will say that they've given him enough of a runway to where we can safely say he's probably not going to be a legit star. And if he's not a star, at the money he's making and with so many of these young guys due for new deals in the coming years, one other factor behind them being so aggressive this offseason, they really believe in Amen Thompson, and Amen Thompson has got 2 more years on his rookie scale deal. So, Sean, it's kind of like in football when you have a star quarterback on that first contract and you really want to load up while he's cheap. That's the window for the Rockets right now with Amen Thompson. They think they have a star-level player who has 2 more years very cheap. So if Jalen's not going to be worth his contract in that window and you can get a Kevin Durant, I think they had to do it. And, that's no disrespect to Jalen. I think he can still be a good player in the NBA, but the odds of him being a star, I think at this point, those have dropped significantly. And if he's not going to be a star, I don't think you're going to regret moving on from him, especially if he's really the only piece that goes out for Kevin freaking Durant.
And, Ben, that's such a great point because, C.J. Stroud is what you're talking about Amen Thompson right now. A rookie salary who's going to make $60 million a year when it happens. So get it while the getting's good. In truth, and Dan and Ben both, even if Jalen Green turned out to be that guy, Ben, that he's a top 15 player, if the Rockets win a World Series under this window with Kevin Durant, it won't matter what he does. It will have been worth it. At least that's the way I feel. Because the rings.
Well, if they win an NBA Finals, if they win a World Series, that would be pretty amazing.
Did I say World Series? I meant World Champion. Yeah, that too. If they do that, it'll be double. But if they do,
I knew where you were going. I was going to let you cook.
Well, hell, and if the Astros win an NBA championship, they'll be great too.
Yeah. There you go.
It'll be worth it no matter what he does. If they put a ring on their finger, Ben, that's just the bottom line. It'll be worth it.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah,
absolutely.
For sure. You can find him part of the Logger Line podcast. Listen to it right here on the iHeartRadio app and also to part of USA Today with the Rockets Wire. He's Ben DuBose. Ben, appreciate your time this morning. No, it's been pretty busy, but appreciate you spending a few minutes with us.
Great stuff, Ben. Thanks, man.
Thanks for having me, guys.